Welcome to another episode of our Thursday Health Talk. Man, that was a mouthful, sorry. Where we provide you with important information to make the quality of your life better through modern Ayurveda. We're so happy that you're with us today. Dr. Shivani Sood, you're tuning in from Canada this time, right?
Exactly. Good morning from Canada.
Yeah, we're so happy. This is why we changed the time around a little bit so we can accommodate all the, different time
Exactly.
zones that we're in because I'm still in Korea and there's, a lot of time in between Korea and Canada to make this work. But we're so happy to bring a topic to you today. It's a clinical session about understanding your menstruation, your cycle. And, every woman
Right.
has it, and we have it for a lot of, years, a long time. We're accompanied by this, cycle, this menstruation, this cyclical beingness of us. And
Right.
with Ayurveda, actually, Ayurveda can use the menstrual blood to look inside of your body. With the menstrual blood, we can see what kind of imbalances we are carrying around with us. So it's really interesting to have a closer look at our menstruation. And this is what we wanted to bring to you today, just to see what is it in general, what does it look like when it's healthy, what does it look like when there are imbalances, and then of course how can you balance them, and what kind of tips and tricks do we have up our sleeves, and also some herbs that can really help
hmm
you have a healthy and good menstruation that is not painful or irritated or anything that you might experience right now.
Exactly. That's so interesting, Murray. And I think there's a lot of myth around this topic of
Yeah.
menstruation, and the women's, all of them have it, but the knowledge about how to handle this special menstruation and how to take care of your health is a fundamental information which is
Yeah.
missing. And we have this myths about it. It has to be painful, everybody has to bear with it, and today we're going to just wave off these myths, because there's so much to learn about our bodies when we are having our menstruation.
Yeah, for example, you just said, we think it has to be painful. For me, when I grew up in Europe, I don't know, everyone told me that this will be painful, definitely, and that I have to expect this pain and that there's no way to manage it. And this is why I get an exemption from, exercise or doing exercises in school. So this is actually a myth, right? That it has to be
That's
painful and
right.
can't be managed.
Right. Well, it is a myth, and there's a truth behind it too, because as you're growing, your body is changing, so there's a dosha imbalance naturally.
Hmm.
But the thing is, like, we can handle it, and it's very easy. Carom seeds, which is called ajwain, just a hot ajwain
Yeah.
tea in the menstruation can ease the pain, along with the hot water, which dilates the blood supply, because the uterus is struggling in the beginning, when it has to contract again and again. So there are simple tips, and obviously there are herbs I will talk about later, which can help this. But like I said, the society has a lot of things, and we see this. That's why Ayurveda is really essential in the modern society, which needs to be taught in order to have better efficiency of functioning, and not really thinking that life is a struggle and we just need to keep pushing through all the things, right?
Yeah.
So it's a myth that it has to be really painful.
Yeah.
Now it comes to the point what a healthy menstruation should look like in standards. So it has to be bright red, the blood,
Yeah. Not dark, right?
not dark. Dark shows that there's an imbalance which needs to be taken care of. It needs to be not foul smelling,
Hmm.
and it shouldn't be too much of a blood, and there has to be a regular bleeding.
Yeah.
So it's a detox.
Yeah.
So
It's a
mhm,
cleansing, actually. It's a cleansing
it's
process
a
of your
cleanse.
body.
Exactly. So you are really able to see what is imbalanced in you with the doshas when the menstruation is happening. Now, interestingly, in ancient India, and many people from the West come and hear this, and they're like, okay, are they discriminating in between women and putting them
Hmm.
away? Because in menstruation time, even my grandmother, she used to say, okay, now you're going to rest. So you don't touch anything, you don't come to the kitchen, you
Hmm.
know, and you just sit and you rest, because imagine if you're the lady of the house, is there any way that you could make the woman say that, okay, today you're not going to go to the kitchen or not serve the food? After a while the woman is like, I have to. So I would have really suggested a complete rest in
Yeah.
menstruation, and the woman was not even allowed to enter the kitchen.
Yeah. And I think that's beautiful that, because
It's
this is
beautiful.
this is actually how it should be, because, in Western society, I don't know, we are brought up to function every day of the month
Exactly.
the same way, like it's linear, but we're cyclical beings, right? So there is a phase where we are active and where we can do, and then there is a phase where we should rest and reflect and draw back, and the phase of menstruation where our body is in such a cleansing process. We should handle it like a detox. We should calm down a little, rest, eat lightly, maybe, not too heavy, and just support the body while it's doing its thing, while it's cleaning. So I think it's
Exactly.
beautiful that in this culture you have this.
Right. And later we saw this as something like, female discrimination, and we
Mm,
stopped it. But, and some people tell me, like, why are they doing it? And I saw many of the, because I have a lot of population of connection with the Western people.
mm.
And then I explained it to them. This is the only way a woman would stop,
Yeah, exactly.
you know? Other, yeah, because you can't enter, you can't touch, you have to do nothing. Just sit there and rest.
Mm, yeah,
And we all fought with our grandmothers, saying that this is wrong. And then in the end, I understood this is so important. And
yeah,
in South India, in many places, when the woman has her first period, it's really celebrated as a festival. The whole village invited, because they used to celebrate femininity with periods,
yes,
right? So there's a lot of things around in Indian culture about menstruation and how we see that. But it's a detox, definitely, and it's a great way to see the whole month and how it has been.
yeah. Absolutely. I think it's beautiful that we're remembering or coming back to that again, that we're really realizing now that it's a time to rest and reflect, and um, yeah, I think we're on the right path when it comes to that. But
Yes, yes,
Shivani, maybe let's have a look at what it looks like if we have an imbalance, right? There's so many different symptoms with periods or
yeah,
menstruation, and maybe we can categorize it a little bit into, what is Vata, what is Pitta, what is Kapha imbalance when we have our period.
right. That's a great question because Ayurveda, when we are coming to consultancy, Ayurveda always emphasizes that we find it out why the imbalance has come before correcting it, because there's always a overall picture to the story, which is
Hmm.
very important to understand. Now, the thing about the periods is that the first most common imbalance which is happening in period is the Vata imbalance. It shows in the form of PMS.
Yeah.
It shows in the form of you know having various flows of blood. So some day too much blood, some day less blood,
Hmm.
some cycles no. So you can see that it's just not stable, the blood flow. It's very highly painful, you know, and you're suffering at least 10 days with a vata imbalance.
Hmm.
So in this cases, I mostly see that the woman needs nourishment to the sexual system in order to have a proper phase of follicular development, egg release, and then the last phase where everything is just regressing down, the hormones are
Yeah.
falling down. So rasayanas need to be given. And the most common one, if you don't want to go into the complexity of the thing, is
Hmm.
to just have aloe vera,
Yeah.
you know, when you're having starting when you're in your first to the 18th day of the periods. And when you are having the painful period, you can support it with ashoka ghan. Now many of you watching the show might not remember the name of this herb, so after the show I will just put it down,
That's
the
nice.
names
Yeah.
of the herbs. Some people don't just get the name of the herbs, and you can support it. And you might need to also see if your mind needs to be supported, with the brahmi extract, or it needs to relax with tagar extracts in order to kind of change the whole picture.
Yeah.
Because when we are living in the modern society and we are into this phase of being overstimulated, then it's very hard to just come back to the balance. So supporting the nervous system also supports the periods in cases of vata imbalance.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, but the most common probably is a pitta imbalance, right?
Definitely.
With periods, right? I
Right.
suffered from that as well, So then you have this burning sensation and you have inflammation. It feels like it's inflamed,
Right.
right? Your uterus.
Exactly. Yeah. So I experienced that too at time, that it just feels that the muscles of the uterus have got inflamed, this heavy bleeding, and that's a pitta imbalance. What's happening with the menstruation cycle, and and I attract all the women who are really pitta around me. So we have the gang of these Pita women who just want to have it all, the
Yeah.
family and the health and the work and everything.
Yeah.
So we are overdoing things. And, the bleeding is really getting affected. Like a lot of blood flows out and your energy is really drained.
Yeah.
So in this case, in Pitta imbalance, definitely water needs to be consumed. Like drinking enough water during the whole month is very important because we are made up of the water, and water creates this calming element in us, right? So make sure you have enough hydration and you drink enough water. And make sure that, when you're able to discriminate in between your work, and you're able to discriminate in between the rest.
Hmm.
So Pita women are all the time functional. I think those are the women I would put out to sit for 5 days in the menstruation outside somewhere and just rest. But yeah, so the rest is very important. And most of the time, Pita women are having this thing about really, when they're relaxing, they're working, they're thinking about their work. So really,
Yeah.
this deep cut in between, okay, 5 p.m. and I'm not working, and I would now really relax myself and not to mix up and work all the time. It's the fundamentals of reducing the Pita, not to put yourself in problems which are not yours,
Yes.
right? Like a Pita woman is, okay, my neighbor's problem, his problem, that problem, every problem, and trying to solve it without they wanting to participate. So being very mindful about where you give your energy out, like who are you spending time with. And then comes the herbs. And I always emphasize, like, if you don't understand your role in contributing and making the disease and just order herbs from the
Mm.
best company, it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's
Yeah.
just like the soil. The
Yeah.
soil need to be prepared, and then the best seed, which is the herb, will go in and it will work. So that's what our
Exactly.
consultancy is all about, helping people find their individual threads which they need to pull in order to, have a period which is balanced.
Yeah, and like you said,
So,
it's mind and body
mhm,
together, right? So people need to
exactly.
understand a little bit about what's triggered within them and what's happening and how the pitta imbalance comes about or how the vata imbalance comes about. If they do not have any understanding of that, just taking a herb
Yeah.
would not help.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so basically, that's why diagnosis is very important. Yesterday, I was seeing a client, and she had come in with the thing that she couldn't actually, she goes to pee every night, 2 hours. So she was diabetic. So I thought it's the diabetes. But then when I did a deeper check, we realized that the bladder is getting weaker with age. So when you diagnose, so you can just change the whole picture of,
Yeah.
how you're going to approach this problem. And most of the time, just seeing counter medicines and buying an Ayurveda on, okay, Google what is good for the menstruation, you will get some answer, but you need to understand the whole puzzle and what is the reason about this. So yeah, in general, so that's why even though I'm suggesting herb, it's always recommended to consult for any kind of menstruation imbalance and problems, because there's things which are connected with it.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to work on your absorption, or maybe your kidneys are weak and things like that. But in this case, also, it's very good to have Ashoka Ghanvati. I'm repeating that name again because Ashoka is the herb which is very good for women in order to calm down the whole breathing system.
Yeah.
And Shatavari as well, because Shatavari reduces the heat in the body
Yeah.
and is very useful for calming down the Pitta woman. And connecting with your feminine essence, like this life is not only about working and achieving, it's about being, and
Exactly.
that really calms you down, right? So trying to shift
Absolutely.
into this part of being.
Yeah, it's not so easy for a Pitta woman to connect to that because,
No.
we're very driven and we're just living still in a male dominated society where, we try to keep up and, connecting back to this receiving part of us, to this being part of us is still challenging for a lot of people, a lot of my clients, me included. We're still, having some challenges around that. But I think, like you said, it's very, very important. And we have not talked about the last imbalance, which comes from kapha. When we start having
Yeah,
water retention and all of that. Can you say a little bit about the kapha
exactly.
imbalance?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So women's are prone to gain weight in different phases of their life. We all know that pregnancy come and we put in 20 kilos, when menopause comes and we start gaining weight around our belly, and water retention increases naturally. So woman has this cycle that the body is changing. I mean, a man doesn't have any pregnancy, doesn't have any periods. It's a simpler body, but with the woman, the complexity is always making her gain weight.
Mm,
So there's only 10 to 20% of the women who don't have this problem. Rest 80% are having problems with hormonal weight gain, and
Yeah.
most of them, the most common now I see is thyroid imbalance and gaining
Yeah.
weight. So that's the kapha part of the problem, the gaining weight and having impact on the menstruation. And then the kapha part of the problem also contributes for having fibroids and cysts.
Mm.
So fibroids
Any
and
kind of
cysts are
growth.
very common. Yeah, any kind of growth, this benign growth. And when all these problems, the mental stress and then the kapha problem, they all mix, then we are basically leading ourselves to having uterine cancers and so on. That's why it's very important to kind of take care of these dosha balances once you have it and correct the whole picture.
Yes.
So in the kapha imbalance, definitely weight management is really important, because the weight and the more fat you have, then the more estrogen it secretes. And in Ayurvedic terminology, the fat is then blocking the systems of channel. So we have this Ayurvedic way of our tissue energy flowing. So that's not really flowing in a proper way. And thereby the weight control is really important. And in this, the belly fat needs to be reduced.
Yeah.
The belly
Absolutely.
fat, so it's not about the fat here and in the body. So we need to work on cellulite reduction and belly fat reduction if we want a good menstruation cycle. Medo har gugul. This is the fat, the gugul, which comes in the form of, the fat reducing gugul. This is really good for women of kapha, along with the kapha balancing plan, and to find out like what is the reason why they're having the kapha imbalance, because sometimes it's very common in my practice. I saw that the women's are having a lot of emotional stress,
Yeah.
and then to gain weight is a kind of balance for them. So we need to
Exactly.
kind of see these things,
Yeah.
right? Like, so this is the kapha part of the problem. And if we are going to concentrate on a healthy menstruation, which is going to have a overall monthly, a good cyclic flow, good and less stress. So it is going to contribute towards our overall well-being and fitness too.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
Yeah,
especially as it's also a part of cleaning your body. If this cleansing process is not really well taken care of, we're gathering more toxins, and we actually want to get rid of those. So our body is designed to do that every month, but if it's not flowing correctly, or if it's if there's some kind of imbalance with that, yeah, it gets worse. So it's really, really worth taking care of that. And Shivani, I know you've mentioned already some herbs, right? We talked about
right.
ashwagandha, but with ashwagandha we gain a little weight. But ashoka, aloe vera, shatavari, all those amazing herbs. And I know from some of my clients that it's not so easy to have access to all of those, or to get them, and they don't know how to order them, where to order them from. They're not sure of the quality also of the
Right.
herb. And I know that you're in Canada right now, especially because of that. So can you talk a little bit
Exactly.
about that, about the herbs and the access to the herbs?
Right. So this has been a big problem, because since 2006, I'm in 16, I'm in, 2006, I'm in Europe. And always when I was prescribing herbs, I was always thinking where they will get it. Then we got some German websites
Mm,
which are selling medicines. But yeah, overall, people had a problem. And I no way could check if there is some pesticide inside, or, if
yeah.
they've been checked, if they're organic and things like that. So, approximately my many years of practice in Europe was really not supported by the exact herbs which were needed. Now, here we have collaborated, and the association is also benefiting from this, and all our consultants have access to these herbs too. We have the new website, which is called Ayu Mantra Herbs, which is now in collaboration with Shivani Ayurveda. And the advantage of these herbs is that they are 100% organic. They've been checked for pesticides and residues, and no metals are there inside, and they're all sourced from the same ancient company in South India. So it doesn't come from various suppliers which grow their own herbs. So we have this collaboration now, which we're going to offer it to all our clients, and it's called ayumantra.ca, and we'll put the link after the live. And here you can buy your herbs, and for the people, because we are just trying to see that more and more people who buy the herbs from the right source, I will provide you with the discount coupon of 10% with your order, so you can all have your 10% discount and try these herbs. Takes around 7 to 10 days to come to Europe.
Ah, that's
And
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, so it has been quality controlled. It is extract tablets which are there. So extract tablet is Swaras in Ayurveda, and it's the Swaras extract. Like, you take the ginger, you take out the juice, and there you have your extract tablets. So the extract tablets are there, and so you know how much of the content is going inside, because most of the time with cheap herbs, after they take out the extract, they make a powder and things like that, and sell it to the people. So you have this new source to try your herbs from if you're looking forward to buy any kind of neurotonic, or if you're looking forward to have any kind of herbs for your sexual system. And obviously, you have a discount for us because you're our viewers and you're really the ones who need some herbs. And here you are, and we have the team of professional consultants to help you out if you need the complete plan.
Yeah, thank you, Shivani. That is awesome. We're so, so happy about this collaboration because really, I've been looking for some herbs or told my clients to order certain herbs, and it took forever. And, it was sometimes it was not available. And, when you make a plan for a client with the diet and the lifestyle and everything, and then you have the right herb at your hand, the effects, the results will be so much better, and the relief of the symptoms
Definitely.
will be so much faster. So we're really, really happy about this. So take advantage of it. Thank you for giving us this discount
Yeah.
code. We all gonna put it in the comments underneath this video.
Yeah.
We're so happy that you tuned in with us today. Our time is up already, but
Yes, it's out.
we hope that you got some value out of this. Know that your period is sacred, that it's a time for you to draw back, and it should be healthy. If you have any kind of issues with that, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the consultants that are on this platform. We're really happy to help you get back your balance and get back your health because you deserve it, and it's really, really important. Thank you for tuning in.
Exactly.
Thank you,
Thank
Shivani, for
you.
your time
Thank you.
and for the
Yeah.
discount code. And we see you next Thursday, guys. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.